Hi everyone, I'm Chef Leroy and welcome to My Cozy Kitchen. How are you guys doing today? I'm having a fantastic day. Sun is shining, a little bit chilly today, but the sun is out. We had a whole weekend of rain. Now we have the sun, so that's fantastic. You might be wondering, hey chef, you're wearing a Harley shirt. Do you have a Harley? Well, absolutely I do. I bought a Sportster S this year and I'll probably have to do a review on that bike. Awesome bike, I will say. Very fast, very fun to drive. Not comfortable to drive, but that's not what this is all about today. I'm not doing a product review on my Harley. I'm gonna do a what's in the chef's kitchen drawer. So let's get after it. All right, let's open this drawer and show you what we have. All right, so this is the most important drawer I have in my kitchen. I have my tools over here on this side, this divider I picked up from the Container Store. It's really nice. It actually can close down and open up further for more room. So I've got my spoons here, I've got spatulas here, whips. Gotta have a pizza cutter, guys. Got a couple pairs of tongs, and I use this rubberized one for my nonstick pans. And then I have a metal one that I use for my outdoor grill. So that one's there. I have a ladle. I don't use it that often. And I have a couple different spoons. So this is a deeper spoon. I use this usually I actually use this for soup, to get soup out of the pot. Gotta have a spoon with slots for vegetables if you do corn or something. These two are probably the most used spoons I use in my kitchen. I use a heavy duty spoon when I'm doing soups in a pot, especially borscht. This one here I use for all my other things in my skillets. So there's my spoons. Probably wondering what this is. Well, it's a brush for like a George Foreman type grill that I have. It's not that brand, but it is one of those indoor grills. And they have a potato masher, a pair of utility scissors. Now, this side, I have all my knives lined up. Now, a lot of people like to use knife blocks, and a lot of people have complete knife sets. I do not have a complete knife set from one brand company. You can see all the different looks of the backs of these knives here. Definitely not all from the same makers or styles. Now, another important thing to have in your kitchen are your steels for honing your knives. Now, this one is a special type one. This one is actually called a diamond steel. It's supposedly coated with the diamond specks in here to help sharpen your knife. This one here is to hone your knife, to make it smooth. This is a steel. I don't use this as much as I use this one here. I use my diamond steel. These are really nice to have. Can show you a little demonstration on how I use them. And then let's talk about knives. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 knives. I also have a paring knife, which is not in this drawer. I barely use my paring knife, honestly. So a couple knives. These couple knives here, these are my chef knives. These I was using at work, and you can see these are both two different type of handles, and both of these are Henkels. This one is unreal. I love this knife. It keeps a really good edge. Actually, both these are really good. Very, very nice knives. I love the handles. I love how wide the hilt is up here. It's great for choking up on. It doesn't really bother your fingers too much. So I really like these knives. Those are chef knives. Those are both 8-inch. I have this little guy here, a little serrated knife for bread, or we use it for some other small things, but I got a little serrated knife. This one here is a little slicer. This one is a little utility knife, 6 inches. I used to use this for skinning terrace at work, but I brought it home now. And this one is made in Japan. Really nice knife for using it for meat, small things. This is one of my favorites. This guy right here. This is also made in Japan. This is by Zwilling, and it's made in Japan. It's also a Damascus knife, and I'll talk a little bit about Damascus in a minute here. So I really like this one. 6-inch. good for smaller things. This one is my fabulous knife. This one is one of my favorites. It's a beautiful knife, beautiful Damascus texture to it. This is also made in this one is actually made in Japan, and it's a Miyabi brand. This one is called a Nikuri knife. Let me see if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Grab my notebook. They actually pronounce it Nakiri. Sorry. Don't even know the names of my knives, but that's funny. So this one is, I also call it a chopper. It's got that flat front on it. Now, I didn't really think I was going to like this knife that much, but I really love it, and it's extremely sharp. I also have this little guy. I picked this one up. This is actually from Sweden. It's great for cheese because it's got that hollow ground on there. And then I have, this one is an old knife. This one is an old Henkel as well. I don't use this one too often. I've had this knife for a long time. And then also this one here. So this is a Shun Santoku, and also has that Damascus look to it, and its hollow ground has this, I call them dimples on here. And this is great for, obviously it's great for sushi, cutting rolls, and it's really good for cheese too, if you're doing cheese, because it has that hollow ground to it. So anyway, I'm going to close my drawer, and I'm going to talk a little bit about these knives that I own. And one more thing before I close my drawer, and I'll take out a couple of these knives to show you what we're looking at. I'll pull these off to the side. Sorry, I'm off camera here. And I want to show you this mat. So you can get one of those really nice knife blocks. I actually have one. I don't use it no more. And the only reason I'm not using it is it takes up a bit of space on my counter. And after remodeling our kitchen, I really didn't know where to put it, honestly, because my stove area takes up quite a bit of space with my wolf top cooktop. So I really didn't know where to put this knife block. So I decided to get this pad. This thing is really nice. I really like it. I also got this at the Container Store. I didn't really talk about this knife. This one is one of my choppers too. This also is a knife that's made in Japan. I don't use it very often. If I was cutting like bigger pieces of meat and stuff, I'd probably use this, but I really don't use it that often. But I have it. It's cool. I'll take these steels out so I can give you a little demo, and let's go ahead and close that drawer. All right, so let me show you the different looks here. So these two knives, you can see, are pretty close to the same style. Now, I like the 6-inch for smaller things that I'm doing in the kitchen. It's really nice to cut up tomatoes or things like that. And I really like that knife a lot. It's really a nice, and it's really a nice looking knife. I mean, look at how pretty that is, you know? Very nice. This one, by far, I use all the time when I'm chopping things up, cutting vegetables and stuff. Even chicken or whatever, I use this one a lot. This one is a really nice knife. And I love that Damascus look. This one here is also a Damascus look. I told you that this is my Santoku. We use this one if we're slicing sushi rolls, or, you know, you can use it for fruit and vegetables too. Nice knife. Now, I'll show you the back of these knives. Now, see the difference of these two knives? So this one has this really wide hilt right here. This one's a little more narrow. Now when you choke up on your knife, which I always do, so I'll hold it like this, and it's so much more comfortable on your finger, on your index finger here. See that there? So that's one thing I really like about this knife. This one also has a fairly wide one too, but if you look at these, are very similar. So when it comes to comfort, that's one thing I look at. I look at how fast this kind of transitions into the blade for this piece to kind of be able to choke up on your knife and then not cause such a strong callus here on your finger, which if you use your knife a lot, you'll end up with a bit of a callus on your fingers as it is. So these are my different knives. Again, this is a chef knife, very traditional chef knife. This is considered a chef knife as well. It's a little shorter. But let's go into the whole thing about Damascus. Now, as you see this knife here, this has no texture to the knife. This is not Damascus steel. This is a high carbon steel, stainless steel knife. Now, the story behind Damascus is pretty, well, it's a very interesting story because the whole history of Damascus and the creation of Damascus steel had been lost for hundreds of years but historians have tried to figure out what the elements were used in creating Damascus steel. Now, a true Damascus steel, and this is according to some of the knife experts, is you have to do 300 layers of steel to be a true Damascus steel knife. Now, they still don't know exactly what metal properties were in the Damascus steel way back when, but they do claim that those knives were so sharp and so strong that they could cut right through a gun barrel. They said that, you could drop a follicle of hair across the knife and it would literally slice in half, or it could shatter other swords that were made at that time. So they don't still know to this day exactly what the complete properties were in that steel that was being made to make a Damascus. But they did believe that this texturing was part of that look, and this is a very unique patterning, which is really, this is a beautiful knife. This one is one that you should display, okay? So let me talk a little bit about honing your knife or doing some sharpening, okay? So let's get after that. All right, so let's talk about using a steel for your knife. Now, usually the steel comes after you've sharpened your knife. Well, the only sharpener, I'll grab this out real quick, that I have in my kitchen is I have this little pull-through sharpener, which I don't ever really use. It's by Hammerstall, and that's actually one of the knives I have in there. You know what? I mean, some of these pull-through sharpeners work pretty well, but I don't typically use that, and I don't even have another sharpener in my kitchen. All I usually use is my diamond steel. So let me show you how I use my diamond steel. I hold my steel in my left hand. I'm right-handed. I draw my blade down, the steel just like this. You want to keep your knife at a very low angle, not sharp like this. You want to keep it very low angle like this, okay? So that's how you do it. I think it's about a 20-degree angle. Sorry, don't know that part. I just know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. So you just run this down your steel just like so. Again, this is called a diamond steel. And there you go. Now, let's take a look at it, test to see how sharp it is. And it is extremely sharp. Now, there's another way to look at your knife. If you want to see whether there's dull spots in your knife, if you hold your knife straight at you like this, your blade, and look down the blade in light, you have to have light shining on it, you'll see spots in there that look kind of shiny, and we call that a flat spot. Those you want to hone out. Now, I have my other steel here. This is just a straight up steel, okay? And you can run that on here as well. Now, a lot of people run their steel the opposite direction, away from them. I've never learned that. That's not how I was taught going through kitchens for many years. Now, I will say one thing. I have actually hit my thumb with a knife coming across. This little piece right here, your little guard, sometimes it's not very protective. This one here has a lot larger one on it, as you can see. So that protects your thumb. And I can show you, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a whole bunch of nicks in this thing. I've actually hit this a number of times with a knife. Thank God I was there, because a nice sharp knife is going to cut you open. And I've actually cut my thumb open before. So just take your time, nice and slow. Got my other steel, just run it across. You don't need to put a lot of force on it unless your knife is extremely dull. But then you put it back into the light, you follow from the tip down to the end here to the heel, and you watch down your steel, look down the edge, and look for any shiny flat spots, and I don't really see any on here. And this knife is a super sharp knife. This stays extremely sharp. If you take care of your knives, you don't you're not rough with them, you're not hitting them on hard surfaces or metal or anything else, they should stay sharp for a long time. The only time they really start getting dull is when you're working on meat. A lot of times meat is a trick on dulling your knife, or bones in chicken or meats, right? Now, the other thing that will dull your knife too is using those nylon boards. Now, I usually only use a nylon board for the most part to cut meat. They're easier to sanitize. Most often I use a wood board. It'll keep your knife a lot sharper longer. But to do this, you use the same method on any of your knives. Just take your time. Stay toward the top of the steel, so you're not going to attempt to go all the way down like this to hit your fingers, right? So just stay up at the top and take your time. Just like so. Ooh, sharp, sharp. Now generally this honing knife is to take off what we call burrs on the knife. After you've sharpened your knife, if you used a stone, which I don't have a stone in my house, you're probably wondering, well, you're a chef, you don't even have a sharpening stone? Well, this is how I keep my knife sharp. I do it all the time and I never have any problems. Again, I have more problems with other people in my house using my knives than I have using my knives. I'm extremely careful and I really take care of them very well. All right, well, that's kind of it on the segment of knives and what I know about them. And again, they're one of your most essential tools in your kitchen. If you feel like you need a whole set of knives, well, go ahead and go do that. And you saw how many knives are in there, but I'll tell you what, the only knives I actually use in the kitchen right now are these two guys. I use my chopper and I use this guy here, my small chef. That's it. That's my whole thing on knives. Hope this video is entertaining and informative. But again, I would say buy knives that are comfortable for you. I like really cool knives too. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this knife is super cool looking. I love the pattern on it. And I also like how sharp this knife is. Again, like I said, these Damascus knives, they're not a true Damascus, going hundreds of years back, but they're as close of a replica as they can come up with. They're super strong, they're super sharp, but you know what? Make a decision on your own of what kind of knife you want. I do recommend these diamond steels. I've had this for many years. I think I've had this diamond steel for probably 30 years. I'm not even sure. But I've had this a long time. But you know, most of the knives that you have are going to be for different types of techniques that you're doing in the kitchen. But again, I use these two all the time in my kitchen. And probably most of my videos you've seen, those two knives are in the video. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Please subscribe if you like the channel. Give me a couple thumbs up. Give me send some comments or write some comments after that. What else can I say to you? I think that's kind of it on the video. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. And I just want to thank everybody that's been viewing my videos up to this point. I'm going to keep adding content as I come up with things. Maybe you guys have a suggestion out there of something I can review for you or show you. But otherwise, Chef Leroy, and out.